Hey, hi, this is Dr. Carla Michelle, and we're back again, and we're talking about how to live free every day. So, this is going to, with hope, finish our last couple of pages in chapter one, where we were identifying the free woman and what it looks like and what defining, I guess, not just the free woman, defining freedom. And as I said before, this is the free woman. This is my not for sale. This is where all my notes are in. But if you are ready to order your own book and follow along, please do so. On Amazon, you can find this book, or you can go to drcarlainc.com and it will direct you to the Amazon link where you can purchase and you can follow along with us. And also, while you're there, there's a couple of other books I just want to make you aware of, as I do, is the Strong Woman's Playbook, Become Your Greatness. I believe everyone should have their own playbook, and this is my playbook that I utilized while I was understanding what life was. Life was as where it felt like I finally woke up and I went out, I put myself out there. One thing you can say about me that I think I should say, I can say about myself, is I will give things my all, and that includes life. And even if I go the wrong direction and do the wrong things, I also do a lot of right things, and I've learned a lot from life. And this is the tool that I created for myself unknowingly, was how to be strong. And that was strategic. Have a strategy, understand how talent I was, and whatever that talent is, something I could, grow, something I could utilize. And speaking of talents, I've just been studying on gifts and then talent, and what's the difference. And what I'm discovering for me, because I believe you can define things your way to help you get through to the other side. But I feel like gift is innate. There's an innate gift that there's things that I can do, but there's a talent that I can grow. And that's when it comes to the strategy. I needed to grow a talent. I needed to grow something in me that I felt that I needed to go along with the gift that I had. So being strategic, having a talent, remaining optimistic, knowing that you're necessary, and then the G is going global. So this was my playbook. Through divorce, through raising kids, through going back to school, to learning about money, to learning about life, learning about myself. Something that helped me uh, understand how impactful I am in my own life. And then it goes on to others, but it starts with me first. So this is the Strong Woman's Playbook that is there. And then I have the other one as Confidence Without a Chase every time. Chaser. And this is really based on stories for strategy, building unshakable confidence in leadership, love, and life. And I've used what I've learned with working with my clients. What even, I actually do couple coaching for those who are referred to me, and I'm happy to help. And then I also do, life in the sense of, because I believe leadership and life and love all go together. So those are the three books that are there. Let's go ahead. And like I said, I'll put the link in the show notes. And go get yours and join me. Right now, let's look at page 22. We're on the part where we're exploring and doing some personal work. We've discussed in the last two times more about identifying and defining freedom. And I believe that it should be your own definition of how you see freedom and how you move and what helps you get to the other side. So remember that it may not be someone else's, someone else's, I was going to say identity, but someone else's definition. So you want to make sure that you define freedom for how it looks for you. for me, a point I made last time, where freedom to me was more based on I had the desire to work for myself and work for home from home before working from home was a big thing. And COVID hit and it became a thing. But I was desiring, as long as I was in the workforce, to work, not as long, but towards the last maybe, let's see, 5 years before I actually did it, just that was on my vision board, to work from home. And I did it, and I took the leap. However, that is my identity of freedom. How it does not mean I get that check that someone else is handing to me. My check is handed to me by the work that I do through me, through my company. But you having a check coming in every 2 weeks, you think different when you're working for someone. When you're working for yourself, you should think different as well. That was my freedom, knowing that health insurance is on me. All the PTO and vacation, that's just time I can always take, which is a great freedom. But things are different. So you have to define, what does freedom look like to you? And that's what this is about. When you understand what freedom looks like to you, you make your moves differently. You move in a way that helps you find joy, to find contentment, and to find a place where you say, this is who I am. This is what I should be doing. This fits. And we are at a place now where many of us work from home. And so the beautiful thing of that is that you can still discover what freedom looks like if it's still working for someone, but you have a different setup. You're working from your office, you're working from your home office is what I mean when I say office, and that you get to have a little bit more control of your life. When work was work, you didn't have control. You were doing what people said that needed to be done, or meeting those goals, or having those meetings, and having so many meetings you don't even have time to actually do the things that you're supposed to deliver on. So please know you can define your freedom, whatever that means to you. We left off with a question: what inner barriers or self-doubts do you recognize within yourself? Wait, we didn't leave off with that. That's where we're starting. We ended up with, think about societal no so social norms, expectations, or stereotypes that have influenced your life. How have these external influences shaped your decision, especially regarding your personal freedom? And then, what inner barriers or self doubts do you recognize within yourself that may have hindered your path to personal freedom? Are there specific experiences or situations where these barriers became more evident? What inner barriers of self doubt do you recognize within yourself that have may hindered your path to personal freedom? Are there any specific experiences or situations where these barriers have become more evident? I think that's where we left off, because I have a note here, but if we haven't, that's where we're going. I gave an example, and that's how I know we did do this one. But there was another in my notes here. I said I know I talked about my mom and what I needed from her, and what I felt I needed from her. And maybe it was true, maybe not, but there's the things that happened in my life because of that process I had. I was well taken care of, was well fed, well dressed, everything. But there's this thing that I seen my brain had got stuck on because of the way that she moved through her life and her healing. And so I had to understand, as you're older and you got kids, there's no excuse, but there's an understanding. So, what are the specific experiences or situations where these barriers became more evident? So, when I think about a lot of the things that self doubt or any barriers that were given because of the way I thought and the way I processed things, I also thought I was too much, because I talked about there was something I wanted my mom to do, like read my mind, basically. And then that goes into thinking I'm too much. I'm too much. I need too much. I'm requiring too much. I need, so me thinking if I'm too much, and then that means I have to kind of like lower the expectations of others. I'm asking for too much. I have to do it alone. I have to do it all by myself. I have to, because I cannot ask for what I really need. But we discussed last time that I really wasn't even talking about, I wasn't even telling people what I needed in that moment. I was just expecting my mind to be read, and that was not right. And the freedom comes now is thinking I'm too much because I want somebody to read my mind. No, it's speak up. You're not too much. You just are not telling people. You weren't communicating what you needed. You weren't being honest. When they even asked you what you needed, what you wanted, you still didn't answer. Can anyone relate to that? You still didn't give the answer. Oh, nothing. Or no, no, it's okay. I'll take care of it. And then it just kept happening. I remember, being married and kids, and you as a mom, you lose yourself more into that, which is a dangerous thing that we do, that we continue to just uh, lose ourselves and have no boundaries instead of barriers. Boundaries instead of barriers. I needed to have boundaries, but I created barriers that stayed with me for decades because I didn't learn. And then we also have to remember about that self observation, self awareness. And that is what we're doing now when it comes to being free and walking in it daily, is looking and deep diving into what is causing you to not be free. What thoughts, what feelings, what old stuff, what things that you haven't forgotten about and moved on from that are keeping you? What even happened yesterday? What happened last night? What happened this morning that is keeping you from being free the way that you want to be free? The way that you desire, because I know you have a desire. I know that there is something in you that wants to experience the lightness that freedom brings. So the other question, think about that though, what we just talked about, and write it down. Remember, there's places for you to have notes, and there's actually on page 25 something you can jot down, or you can have another journal, or journal would be great. But also in the book, I left notes space so that you could just and also margins on the side so you can have room to just capture in the moment, and then just pick up the book and overlook and look it over. Let's see. So there is a question there where I'll just say it. It says, Dr. Carla. So I've introduced the concept of the free woman or the free person in this chapter. I want you to think about how you relate to anything that has been said. And I also want to hear, like, what's your thoughts about freedom, being free? How do you envision the significance of the free woman, the free man in your life and the lives of those around you? Now, how significant is it to you in who you see with women and men in your lives, and even in yourself? How significant is that? And then how do you envision freedom in your life, in other people's, and what can you take away? What can you adjust? What can you minimize when it comes to living free every day? Or not just minimize, but what can you add to your life, and what's needed, and the way that you need to go? So I'm looking at my notes here. What are your initial goals for achieving personal freedom based on what you've learned in this chapter? So based on what you've learned in your own reading time, based on what we've talked about, I've shared, based on what your aha moments when I'm talking, what's happening to you, what are your initial goals for achieving personal freedom based on what you've learned and what we've talked about. And my notes say my initial goals are to feel again. There's one thing about being strong. If I can look back, because I wrote that book long time ago, not that long, but long time, a long time ago. And that person that had to be strong was created to survive. That person that came up was strong, was trying to figure out the antidote of how to move her life forward to not live the same. You have to remember when I went from home to marriage and then to divorce, living on my own for the first time in my own apartment after a divorce, having to pay rent, having to, and I had job and everything, but we put our money together, and it was never like I never was a part of how the money was spent. And that's a whole nother story, but I had to figure it out. And so that's where strong came from. Having to figure out a strategy to live, to be, to get to where I knew I could go. So with that, I didn't feel a lot. I turned off a lot of emotion to keep going. And so how many of you have turned off your emotions? How many of you have turned off your hopes? How many of you have turned off the drive, right? Because we can turn off emotions, and then we also can, and just go at it and look at the target and nail it. Then we can also, maybe our emotions are not turned off, but we turned off the drive to get and to be and to do and to accomplish. So for me, my initial goals for achieving personal freedom based on what I had learned was to feel again, was to express my feelings. It took a lot to make me cry. It took a lot, like a lot. And now I cry. My eyes water. I just saw a movie yesterday, and the whole storyline, it was like, because at first it was like, I don't have time for that. We got to get this stuff done. I got to get life right. I also slipped away from trusting God because now I'm not going to say God wasn't in my life and I didn't pray or didn't read the Bible or didn't study. I slipped away of trusting him. My actions showed my heart. And my actions were, how do I figure this out? How do I make this happen? How do we keep going? How do we make sure food's on the table for the kids? Because we don't get no alimony. How are we going to make this thing happen? So and still show up for them and still be there and still be the mother, the listener, the dependable mom that you wanted to be. So there was that prayer, and I was making affirmations before, saying affirmations for affirmations were a big thing. However, I can say, looking back, there was a dependency on God. Maybe this will make sense. There was a dependency on God, but I don't know if there was a trust. Does that work? It worked for me, I guess. And I don't want to say I guess. I believe that's how I moved. There was a dependency, but there still wasn't trust. And I think we can depend on people as much because that means we don't actually trust them. We depend on them up to a point, and then I'm going to step in. And I believe that's where I was. Like there was a dependency. I knew that he was my provider. I knew that he loved me. I questioned if he saw me, because they call, one of his biblical names is El Roy. And I questioned if he saw me, because I felt if he saw me, things, once again, you see, I think we just tied it back in to how I viewed my mom, that she didn't read my mind, so you don't really see me. So look what I did. I carried that with my relationship with God. Like, I know you there, but I don't think you really see me. So I know you're supposed to be there. I was raised this way, but I don't believe that I can trust you 100%. And so that's what I've learned about freedom is I don't have to take everything, put everything on me, that I can trust. I can trust. I can trust. What I'm trusting is everything will still work out if I'm not in control, and controlling, not just having input, but controlling, like actually like controlling the steps. So trusting and dependent is now a team. And what else do I have? I think there was, let me read my notes. Allow all of me to have a download. I don't understand that note. So it may come and make sense, but ask yourself again, what are your initial goals for achieving personal freedom based on what you've learned in this chapter, and consider both short-term and long-term aspirations. I do want to make a point about how at times when you're not in an inner freedom, you do not make moves. You don't go forward. There was a time that I felt very confined in decision making. And it just depends on how many hits I've taken, in the decisions I've had made or have made. And there is those times where you think about, maybe I'm doing too much. Maybe I am, like for instance, I can have an event, and if the event at the end costs me money, like I didn't make a profit, and not that the event is to make a profit. My goal would be to break even. Profit is great, but impact is more important. But I would love for it as a businesswoman to break even or a profit, right? So when it didn't make a profit, or didn't, break even, you those hits, kind of like, how many times do I have to get taken a hit like this, where it's, where it's not being taken care of in the way that I see it. But that's the important thing of letting it go. Because how will I continue to remain free to do the things that I know that I want to do for my clients, or for those that my heart leans towards in hosting events and hosting different things, if I always worry about my feelings? Because the event is a success. So the event itself, the outcome of the event has not failed. There's no failure. There's not missing a mark in that. It's the, dang, can't it just break even here? But then I got to talk to me, because I'm the one though. I want to have this. Let's make it like this. Let's do it like this. And then, so, I have to take responsibility. But even in moving in freedom, that inner freedom, I still have to know where I'm pointing the finger, and is the where I'm pointing the finger the right place? Because usually it's out there or blaming everything, but I have to check with me. And then I have to adjust accordingly or understand that, it's going to be taken care of, even if it didn't break even. And all the time, it really has. So I never lose in that. I never lose in that. So when you think about moving forward and you slowed down lately because of all the stuff you're carrying, please do your best to let it go and to release it and trust again. Trust that it'll all work out, because it will. It will. It will in time. Maybe not the timing that you feel it, or maybe it will, but it will all work out. Um, think about what your attitude is about freedom. Think about how you need to, one, self reflect. One of the things on 23 is putting it into practice. That's the title of that section. And self reflecting is one of them. You want to check your inner freedom often, self reflect often. Self reflect. Get some time in. I have some suggestions here. What societal expectations have influenced your choices today or this week? And how did you respond to those expectations? So you have to understand that those things build up if you're not asking yourself the right questions. If you're not saying, wow, that was an expectation there. That was something that, wow, I didn't expect, and it hit me different. But am I checking my response? Am I reflecting? And is it taking root, and then it's going to grow? And then it's harder to see the vision that I have, that God has for me, because I've got all this stuff backed up that I haven't taken care of, I haven't worked through. What changes would you like to make moving forward? Very key. Clock it. What do you want to do different? If that happens, I'm going to use an example that probably doesn't fit, but I think about this popped in. If you're on the freeway, someone cuts in front of you. There's a choice there. There's a choice. If you're somewhere at work and there's the expectation of you based on the culture of the company, and it doesn't really agree with you the way that it happens, how are you responding to that expectation? Is it interfering with how you show up and you do your job? Because if so, it's taking away the freedom you have with the power you do have at the job that you hold. So think about that and reflect on it, and then think, what do I need to do moving forward? What do I need to change? Because that's help you become more self-aware and what influences you and what impacts your life. So the second question, and I don't want to go over too much time. 30 minutes is the goal of this, because I believe there's a lot of information. And if you go too long, it just gets lost. So I'm going to read a couple of more things, and actually we'll be done with this first chapter. Your beliefs. Identify 3 societal expectations you've unquestionably accepted in the past. So the first one was, there's expectations that influence you in the choices this week. And then there's the ones that expectations that you've subconsciously accepted now. And that it's showing up in your life. I use something personal, but I also use business wise. But those are the things that can mess with you because you accepted it in the past, and now it's become a habit, or it's become subconscious, and you just do it. And It's no longer working. So take a deep dive. What beliefs? What beliefs about yourself? What? No one sees me? No one sees me. So, yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm doing this, but no one really sees me. So I don't trust. I don't depend on anybody. I just keep moving. But they don't see you because, or I don't see me because I wasn't talking about it. I wasn't letting them see me. I was not letting people see me. Why? Because I didn't think long ago as a young girl that I was worthy of being seen. So I want you to challenge those beliefs. Whatever comes up, challenge them and ask yourself why you're holding on to them and whether they still align with your true desires and your values. And then talk about it. Find someone to talk about. Go through this book, not just with me and you. Grab a group of people and talk about what is holding you back. What is holding you back from inner freedom? Because I believe that this will dismantle beliefs that are no longer working for you. Just like even in this conversation, I am still dismantling a belief that I was too much. But, and that's why no one, but no, it was me trying to be less than too much as well because of maybe one incident. So I believed it. And maybe it happened more than once, but it is still my responsibility as a grown woman to not allow something that happened so many decades ago to still rule in a way that it disrupts what I need in my life. The third one is set boundaries. Take action to set boundaries that align with your authentic self. And who is your authentic self? Who is it? What is it? Who really are you? Because we're created by, I don't know why I'm doing this. We were created by so many incidents in our lives, good, bad, ugly, wild, wicked. We are created by so many incidents. What can we really call authentic? So let's say this, where and who you want to be now. Let's call that authentic. So identify an area in your life where you feel the pressures are infringing upon you, who you are. So work-life harmony, your personal time, or the way you express yourself. I want you to think about setting clear boundaries in these areas and communicate them to those around you. Because we have to practice asserting our needs and our priorities without guilt, without feeling like we're asking too much, without feeling like our self-worth is on the line, with not feeling like, well, this has happened before, so I'm just going to sit back and let it happen even though I don't want it to happen. We have to create space for who we are now to flourish. Okay, we have to, you and I have to continue to create space where we can flourish. I'm going to read the last closing paragraph of chapter 1. As we wrap up our exploration of defining freedom, page 24, I want to remind you that this is only the first step on your journey to living free every day. In chapter 2, which is coming, we'll take a closer look at unshackling ourselves from societal expectations, examining the influence of norms and stereotypes. And I want you to get ready to challenge these conventions and empower your individuality. Join me in the upcoming chapter, in the upcoming video, and we'll push further in the path of self-discovery and look forward to breaking free from the constraints imposed by the world or our world. I believe your pursuit of genuine freedom is gaining momentum. I really do. So don't forget, get your book if you haven't. If you love listening, I love that you're listening without the book. That's fine. But I also want to let you know This is here for you. And men, don't be stuck by woman, free woman. It's a free person, and everything it can be applied to you and what you're doing. This book is available on Amazon, and also under the title, and also on drcarlainc.com. So as we close, I want you to really think about what is happening inside of you. What is happening inside of you when it comes to freedom? And what does that look like? What is that, if you can feel it, what does it feel like? Where can it take you? Is the lower amount of freedom that is necessary to live the life you want to live stopping you? Is it stopping you? Is it holding you back? Is it making you second guess? And this is real, and why you're here on this earth. Why you're here. Why are you here? If you're asking that question. And I hope you're not. I hope you're asking the question, but I hope it's not to the point where you can't see just how perfect you are, regardless of whatever impacted you. You're still a good person. You have a lot to offer. There is so much in you, and I say that because where we are right now, there is a lot going on, and there's a lot of people who are feeling not so free. And it's important that if that is you, that you understand that there's more for you. There's more for you. There's more. All right. Thank you for joining me. This is Dr. Carla Michelle at the Strong Podcast, Strong Network Podcast. And I wish you the best. I believe in you. I have a great space in my heart for who you are and all that you are. So join me again as we go into chapter 2. And we are going to be discussing unshackling expectations. So like breaking chains. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.